Welcome to the Redeemed Vision podcast, where we bring sight to the blind and freedom to those enslaved by our pornified culture. Here, we dive into hard but important topics such as pornography, sexual identity, true freedom, real love, and living marriage well. Go deep with us as we uncover what redeemed vision means for each of us living in the world today. Come to know yourself, the power of redemption through Jesus Christ, the joy of laughter, and how to live in gratitude and wonder. This is Redeemed Vision.
Welcome to Redeemed Vision Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Pokorny. It's an honor to have you here for another edition. A fantastic guest coming, but before we get into that, just a reminder that if you're looking for a way to live out your Catholic faith to the full, then you want to check out Catholic Casts. There's a collection of over 2 decades of Catholic conferences. You can't find them anywhere else online, including one of the world's, I would say, the world's largest collection of theology of the body related conferences and talks. You're definitely going to be enriched. There's a very low cost of $9.95 per month. And it's going to help you to develop the gift of yourself and also how to live practical ways of living out the will of God in your life. So if you visit CatholicCast.com, that's one C in the middle, CatholicCast.com, you can get started today. The Redeem Vision podcast is an outreach of Freedom Coaching, freedom-coaching.net, where we are working to help break both men and women free from the shackles of pornography, the pornified culture, unchaste behavior, to reclaim themselves. And I encourage you to check out freedom-coaching.net. We are more than happy to help serve you to live in genuine freedom. And then also one other aspect that's an outflowing of this work is called Redeemed Healing. It's about once a month we get together, and there's no cost to this, where we pray with you. And so we especially are focused on, it's not only limited to this, but it's focused especially on identity challenges and any of the sexual brokenness that we have received, especially coming in the pornified culture. So the next one coming up is going to be, I think it's May 9th. It's a Wednesday. And what I would encourage you to do, it's either May 9th or May 10th. I think it's May 9th, starting at 6:45 p.m. Central. And what I encourage you to do is to drop us a line so we can get you on our newsletter list, our email list. So you'll be alerted to that. So you can sign up. We do ask people to sign up because there's a limited amount of space, because we get people in to pray with us and for you and with you. So it's a very powerful experience. And we've seen some beautiful transformations that have happened just from that time there. The other thing also, this podcast is made possible by a lot of our donors, allowing us to use our time and while we still are able to provide for our families. So the Freedom Coaching Foundation Incorporated is our 50 is a nonprofit entity that allows us to utilize these funds to be able to support especially clients who would not be able to be clients because of financial need. And so we ask you, if God puts on your heart to support us, to please become a donor of ours so we can reach many, many more people with the genuine news that freedom is real, that everything is redeemable and nothing is wasted. And also, and wherever you are watching or listening to this podcast, please click the bell if it's an option, subscribe, and share this. Please get the word out to 5 people you know. Share it today so we can get the word out about these very important topics. Now, since we last were together, one of the things I had the opportunity to do was to attend a retreat, actually as part of a leadership team, and it was with a group called the Kingsmen. His name is Mark Houck. You might be familiar with him. He was arrested by the FBI. He's been cleared of those charges. What was he arrested for? Was for being pro-life. And Mark's been in the realm of helping men with healing and transformation. And one of these retreats is the Samson retreat. It was a healing retreat for men, going deep, especially in a lot of the brokenness that men experience. And this was actually here in San Antonio, right in the San Antonio area, at a beautiful retreat facility known as Santos Ranch. Those are 2 other organizations to support. We got to see beautiful things happen. And in the apex of the event, which I'm not going to share with you what that is, you'll have to go to it to experience it. God gave me the gift of of laughter, of joy, this ridiculous joy. And this is the joy that God wants to have. And again, in this space and time where I was at, was just the revelation of the Father, how much he really, really loves us. So if you are struggling, if you're looking for help and healing, or needing help, needing healing, check out the King's Men. Check out especially Samson. There's one for women called Judith. Typically, these happen in New Jersey, but they're looking to expand them. I know that one of their other programs is known as Into the Wild. That's happening in Idaho, coming soon, I think in June. So check out all the work they're doing at the King's Men. You will not regret it. But enough about that. I want to turn our attention to a very important guest, of a man who I'm quickly becoming good friends with. His name is Jerry Jacobs Jr. Okay, I want to call him JJJ. I don't know if he'll go for that. We'll find out. And he's the founder of Catholic Alpha, not Beta, Catholic Alpha, where he helps men move from wuss to warrior. He's a life and marriage coach. Who offers radical relationship advice. And I'll give you a hint, radical does not mean leftist, okay? Radical is something different. Radical advice and relationship advice to men struggling to accept their God-given roles in society and family. And I think this is really important because there's a narrative going on in our world that marriage has been riddled with lies and deceit that basically says if life gets hard, cut your losses. And Jerry's got something very different to teach here. So it's no wonder why so many people right now are finding their marriages in crisis. So his marriage coaching approach is unflinchingly addresses the elephant in the room. And here's what the elephant is. I'm gonna challenge him on this, but go deeper. It's not all about love. This is interesting. His program teaches men to reconnect with their marital mission in order to emotionally connect with their wife or their fiance. So again, if you are engaged, this is also for you. So he's far from perfect. Thank God he's in the right room. Jerry's own spiritual battle forced him to reconcile with faith, with death, and responsibility very early on. But here's the beautiful thing, turnabout. This is redemption. He's been happily married to his wife, Mary Kathleen, for 21 years, and they have 5 beautiful children. I encourage you to check out Jerry and his work of Catholic Alpha at catholicalpha.com. Without any further ado, Jerry Jacobs Jr. or JJJ. Welcome.
What's up? I knew I'd get you.
So, Jerry, you have you're kind of boring and low key. So if you can get a little more energy here for this interview, at least, I'd appreciate it. Okay,
all right, man. I'll chill out.
No. We want the energy. The energy is good. Yeah, Jerry. To those who aren't aware, who have never experienced Jerry, I think you have only one speed, and it's full on. So that's what's going to happen here. So I want to start out our talk today, our discussion today, right, with this. What the heck is Catholic Alpha? Well, why this name? What inspired you to start CatholicAlpha.com?
Two reasons. The first reason was my wife, when my first wife, who was a Native American, and we were married and for like 16 years, and we were in divorce court because I was dumb, didn't know nothing about it back then.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in divorce court, and I was we were in divorce court, ready to get married, and then she contracted leukemia.
Oh my.
And then died. And I had to have so I left me with 2 boys, and I didn't have a mother for them. And so that was the first wake up that, man, something was wrong. And so then I married my second wife, Mary Kathleen. We've been married for, like you said, 21 years. And we started having the same problems as my first marriage. I was like, okay, something's wrong with this, dude. There's only one common denominator. It's you. I'm like, I can't make nobody happy. So I started realizing I'm not trying to lose my family a second time. I'm not trying to lose. I decided to make my stand like right now. And that's kind of what happened. I decided to make my stand right now. I'm not going out and getting no other woman. I'm going to figure out what I got to do to keep my wife happy and to keep my family together. And so that's when I really started getting into Catholic Alpha. But the main reason, because that is the secondary reason I started. That came after I started Catholic Alpha for my boys. because I thought, okay, once I started getting into faith in the Catholic Church and my, the love of my life, I started thinking, okay, dude, you learn all this stuff. So what happens to you if you go? What happens to your sons? What happens?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I guess I got to get out and do something. So that's when I was really pissed because I started seeing that, like, okay, there's no men out here. And at the time, my father was not a believer. So he used to, I would say my father was agnostic, which means, you know what that means? Nothing.
Nothing.
And so I was deep into the church, into Christ Church is what you always hear me say, Christ Church. I make sure I tell everybody that, the Catholic Church. And so I started getting into that and I started learning all this stuff. And I started thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen to my boys if something happens to me? Which that's a very real, in this day and age, that's a very real possibility, man.
Oh yeah.
So then that's when I started Catholic Alpha. And then the marriage thing kind of came about when I started analyzing my marriages and stuff. And so I kind of put them together. And then I started realizing that, man, marriage is the center of the universe, is the core of the universe, man. And I started thinking, if I can get men to change themselves, then what will happen is we'll change the world.
Okay, so all right, let me butt in here a little bit here. So this is really important. And again, I never knew about your first wife, and obviously I'm sorry to hear that, obviously many, many years ago, but the amount of pain that comes from there. And that's one of the things that I believe, and one of the things that we constantly are preaching here. It's usually from a person's pain, usually from a place of great discomfort. If they will lean into that, there can be such great growth that can help many other people. And I want to thank you for leaning in on that. And one of the things that you talk about here, obviously, and this is one of the subtitle of Catholic Alpha is moving from wuss to warrior. So actually, this is interesting because usually I assume there was, or I'm not going to say is, I'm going to beat up, but was a wuss growing up at some point. So take us back. Grow up here. Show us Wussy Jerry. What was that?
It's not. It doesn't really mean that. So
okay.
So Catholic Alpha. Yeah. The reason I call it Catholic Alpha is not because I'm this alpha dude like that. I know my wife kind of says I am, and my kids. But the reason I call it Catholic Alpha is because I realized that men were wusses in their family. What means what? They just like let their kids disrespect them and their kids do whatever they want. They just kind of like lay back. They go to work, come home, and just sit in their house. They really don't do nothing. They play video games all the time. They do stuff like they're really not present in their families, really. And most guys think, oh, I am present. No, you ain't, man. You really ain't. But we won't go there yet. But the thing about it is you can be laid back at your job. You can be non-participatory in society, in church if you want, but in your home, God commands that you be an alpha, which means what? You got to make things happen. You got to take care of business. You got to make sure everything's organized. You work with your wife to get things going. You and her can't be sitting around not communicating and loving each other and stuff. Just let go, having a boring dead marriage and just let things go by day to day. Y'all stop talking to each other. You just kind of introverts are really good at this too. They don't talk and stuff. Then what happens, then you look up one day and your wife says, well, hey man, me and the kids, we in New Mexico and we ain't coming home.
Wow.
That's what happened to me like 3 or 4 times. And I'm telling you, dude, it will happen. And I hear guys tell me all the time, oh yeah, man, I just didn't know this was coming. You knew it was coming. You just chose to ignore it. And so that's why I call it Catholic Alpha, because you cannot be you have to be a man of God in your home. And that takes an alpha man to know that, listen, I have to do something. I have to take charge, be a man of action. Wuss to warrior is basically that. My program, when you come to me, most men are wusses. What does that mean? You're not worthy of God, that wife, and those beautiful kids that God has given you. You don't really understand why. You don't really didn't care. You just know right now I'm in all this pain, and how do I get rid of it? And so what I teach men how to do is how to get confidence again and get their love and respect back of God, of their wife, and of their kids, because that is really the only measure of a man, dude. Don't get it twisted. Your relationship with God, the love and respect of your wife, and how your children view you. Most guys get all screwed up and put things in the wrong priority. And then what happens is they look up. Yeah, this one guy got to me all the time. Well, man, I can't join your program, man, because I got to pay my bills. I got to get my credit right. You got to get your credit right. Dude, your wife is gone. Your kids are gone. Your house is in chaos. You're miserable. Your wife's miserable. And you talking about paying your car payment? That makes no sense. Guys, we get this thing. We don't look at relationships right. We look at relationships like it's a voluntary thing. You know, I didn't conquer the woman now, so I can go. Basically, I can solve all these other problems before I put God in the mix and my wife. And then your wife starts to think, "What the heck am I here for? I'm a car payment. The car pump. The water pump's broke down, so you're gonna go fix the water pump and instead of taking care of your time with me." And we can go into that later, but that's kind of how I look at it, man. It's like men look at marriage, they don't look at it right. They really don't. And then when their wife and their kids are gone, or she asks for a divorce or separation, or what's the one you hear all the time? I need space. Dude, then all of a sudden we want to get in warrior mode and trying to fix everything in 5 seconds. Yeah. It don't work like that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think the two words that are screaming in my ears when you're talking right now is intentionality and hierarchy. And especially, and there's some overlap here with freedom coaching and teaching clients how to be intentional. I mean, a lot of guys, we've been taught to be passive. We've taught to let the world into our inner sanctum, right? Come into our castle, mess with us, and we're just going to let it be. I mean, this is the programming we've received from, places like The Simpsons and Homer Simpson, or various other locale that teach that to be a Christian is just to be a wuss, like to sit on the sidelines, that we're here to lose, right? Well, that's not true. Right? We're called to win for Christ, and we got to be focused on that. So it's being intentional about the life that we have here. And Jerry, I love the fact that you're doing this. Another piece here is that of hierarchy, right? And hierarchy in a reality means sacred order, where it is, and absolutely right, God, wife, children, and everybody else. If you're married, if you have this vocation, this is what we're called to be here, right? And obviously marriage and men have gotten a bad rap in at least the last 60 years. Well, if we have to go back, and that short amount of time, right? And one of the things I think that people are talking about in recent years has been that of toxic masculinity. And just the fact of Catholic alpha is probably going to trigger some people, and I'm okay with that. So let's trigger them on, right? But I think we need to be triggered in the right ways about truth, right? So, and I think that the term toxic masculinity, right? Where have you seen that come up in the people that you're working with, in the guys you're working with? How has that impacted them, and how would you even begin that conversation to direct them? Maybe you got to look at this a different way.
So the way you got to look at it, like, in order to be a warrior, you've got to enter the spiritual battle daily for your wife and your children, mainly for your wife in marriage, though. And people are like, why do you leave the kids out? Well, I leave the kids out because if it's right with your kids, it ain't right with God and your wife, something ain't working right there. So, but if you get it right with God and your wife, what'll happen is the kids will come along. And a lot of people don't really realize that. People get on my nerves taking kids and putting kids above God and their husband. Uh-oh, you disappeared. I'm
right here. You're good. You're on solo. You're on solo layout. Welcome to it, brother. Keep going.
And so putting God above putting their kids above God or their husband or their wife, that relationship, and then they start to realize over years that the husband, he ain't getting the big piece of chicken no more. What that means? What that means? I'm not getting no respect. You putting everybody above me, so the husband starts resenting. But men have to learn that you got to enter spiritual warfare every day. I call it the spiritual battle. I call it prayer warfare. And if you don't, what will happen is Satan will walk right past you, walk upstairs with your wife and kid, and get into bed with them while you out being distracted. And so that's what I wanted to say on that. And then also a lot of people, they don't like, I've had, well, not really a lot of pushback, but sometimes the name of my stuff, people don't really, I get a little pushback every now and then. But the thing about it is, my wife taught me the first response to truth is anger. And so if wait,
say that one more time. What was that?
My wife taught me that the first response to truth is anger. And so people start getting that's why priests and stuff and pastors don't teach the truth, the word of God, because people start getting uncomfortable. It's not that they're uncomfortable, that they get mad. And comfortable too is part of it. And so what happens is people stop giving the truth. And when if somebody really loves you, they'll tell you the truth. Now it's empathetically and support.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but it has to be, because if you want them to listen, they ain't gonna listen anyway. But if it ain't empathetic, they really ain't gonna listen.
Correct.
But that being said, I really can't. I've learned in the faith, the Catholic faith, that like I'm an Orthodox Catholic. I don't say traditional Catholic. I'm an Orthodox Catholic, which means I'm trying to be my best to be obedient to God the best I can. I don't water down stuff. I don't play around. And if something I don't know, if somebody can teach me something about the faith, I didn't know it, that's cool. I try to adopt it. But for the most part, what I realized is ain't nobody never right about everything in the Catholic faith. The point of it is it's just too vast to know everything. So what I've learned is I'm going to go and proceed. I'm a different kind of Catholic than most people. I'm not EWTN. I'm sorry, I'm not. I can't play like that. I can't play roles like that. I have to speak to people. I try to bring the faith down to the working man's thing, because what happens is people, they can find things complicated sometimes, man. And they, in that kind of way, talk about love and mercy all the time. Love and mercy, love and mercy, love and mercy. We're not trying to hear that. And so that's kind of where I am.
Well, no, let's put this here, right? To not speak the truth in charity is a very grave danger, right? I think this is why, especially, and Jerry just staying focused on the issue of marriage itself. I think this is why people have been struggling so much, is because they haven't been told the truth about marriage. We're clueless, and as the word says, right? If my people Chronicles, right? I think it's 29:11. My people perish because of lack of knowledge, right? And if they know the truth, if you know the truth, and you're so united to the truth will set you free. Free not to do what you want, but to do what is required of us, which ultimately will fulfill us, which will ultimately, if maybe it's heaven totally, but also of service to our wife and our children, right? And I absolutely agree with you as well. That battle, the spiritual battle, is really important. And we talked about before we got on camera, right? You've been having issues with your camera, things being messed up, right? And I said to you, right, if you're not experiencing these kind of things, then something's wrong, right? And we always say if there aren't technological problems, it's not freedom coaching, right? So same thing, right? It just is, right? Computer starts freaking out, computer shuts down. So within this here, right, like take a good hard look. There's a message to all of the guys who are listening to this and women, right? If you're not experiencing some sort of pushback, right, issues, problems, right, if your life is on easy street, then maybe you're not taking ground. Maybe you're not going into enemy territory here, right? We're called to do that. We're part of the church militant to do this, right? Critically important on that to pay attention there. So with all this said here, Jerry, your approach to marriage, right, from what I've seen or a little that we've talked, has been, when a marriage goes bad or it's starting to get ugly, right? I don't know if going bad is the correct word, but we'll use it anyway, right? It's the husband who needs to fix himself first, and then the wife's going to fix her, right? Talk to me more about that.
Okay. So in the Garden of Eden, God said, Adam, you name this stuff. So when you name something, that means you're what? You're responsible for it. So right off the bat in Genesis, God is saying, look, man, because Eve wasn't even around yet. So the first thing I try to get guys to do is to get over it. In the marriage, you are responsible for everything. You're responsible for the diapers, the dishes, the kids. You're responsible for the happiness of your wife. That's another misnomer that everybody tries to tell you. You ain't responsible. I'm not responsible for making you happy. That ain't what I'm talking about. That ain't what God's talking about. You responsible for everything. The success, you're responsible for that marriage and everything in your house. Okay. So what happens is men, we don't really understand our mission. And so if we don't understand our mission, we can't do anything. So what happens is in this culture, what has happened is we have listened to Satan and say, well, man, when she fix herself, I'll fix myself. When she does this, I'll do that. Well, it ain't set up like that. God didn't set it up like that. If it was set up, because Eve wasn't even around. Eve ain't got time to do your job and her job, man. She got the kids. She got to nurture the kids, man. She hanging with the kids. And she's got to nurture you. That's her job, to nurture you and nurture those kids, to be the heart of your home. And every time your wife is doing something, you get mad at her, calling her names and raising your voice and getting all upset with her, she gonna start thinking you don't love her no more. So she gonna check out on you. And so what people don't understand is we as men, like I told you with Catholic Alpha, is like I decided there was only one thing in that was common denominator in my two marriages, and that was me. So that was the first thing to get me to say, man, you got to look at yourself. One of the main reasons my marriage is so strong is that when things go wrong or something happens, I look in the mirror and say, man, what could I have did to make that better? That serves me really well. That way I don't go off on my kids. I don't go off on my wife. I'm not tripping. I'm not getting mad. I'm not getting resentful. First thing I'm asking myself is, what did I do wrong? How could I have done better? And a lot of guys don't do that. So another thing too, one of your missions of a man, we can go into a minute if you want to. The third mission of a man is to serve. So which means what? You serve God first, your wife and marriage second, your kids self third, and your dirty butt last. If you do it in any other way, your wife will not follow you. You will not get the grace from God, because that's basically selfishness. I try to tell men, listen, from this day forward, and you minister this podcast, from this day forward, you never, ever, ever think about your wants, your desires, and your needs before God, then your wife, and then your kids. That's the key. And it's hard for guys to do that because we've been taught that today. We've been taught, think about myself, whatever makes me happy. Well, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask every man this. How can you truly be happy as a man, fulfilled and satisfied, when God and your wife and your children are miserable? Can you really?
Are we aware of that our wives really are part of our flesh? The two shall become one flesh. Are we aware of that? Right? We're told so much that it's about a self-esteem culture, that as long as I feel good, then everything's right in the world. Well, there's going to be times in life for maybe decades you're not going to feel good. Right. But take a look at the cross, right? Here we go. Let me I forgot to put me back on the screen here, right? This is your mission here, gentlemen.
That's
right
it.
There. That's your mission right there. Your mission, actually, true story, Jerry. I mentioned about the retreat we went on recently. On the way there, talking to everybody, two of the guys in the car, I was picking guys up from the airport. Two of them were single. And I basically said, if you guys get married, the meaning of your life is to die. You are to die. That's just what it is. And sometimes it's a death to self, right? Which is a gut check at the door. And I think what you expressed, Jerry, and then I give you props here, don't let this get to your head, right? Was you had a little bit of humility here, recognizing, taking a step back, taking a look at where your life was in both marriage, and realize, like, I'm the common denominator of the problem, right? I've got to do this. And you're expressing what's been known, we qualified for, many years as extreme ownership. I'm taking ownership of myself. I'm taking lock and stock of what I am and what needs to be done here. And also the thing you're talking about, right, which is completely contradictory for a lot of people, is I like to draw from it's Gary Smalley's book, which I'm totally blanking on the title of the book, but he said this, the subtitle is, maybe the purpose of your marriage is not to make you happy, but to make you holy. And to be holy is to be authentically who you are, set aside for God, set apart for God, right? Which is good, right? So this is good. This is very, very good, Jerry. And there's a phrase you use that I want you to elaborate on. It's this notion of the wife's exit strategy. What is that? What's that all about?
So that has to do with what we've been talking about.
Mm.
Okay. So you said at the beginning of the program, you said, like, what are the clues? You kind of said it like this, how do you know your wife is unhappy, and how do you know when there's problems and blah, blah, blah? Can you kind of insinuate with that, right? And that's a great question. Here's how you know what the wife's exit strategy is. First, the wife's exit strategy is when your wife senses the emotional connection leaving in your marriage, she will need validation of your love for her still. Because remember, your wife didn't sign up to have all these kids. She didn't sign up to wash dishes and take out the trash, go to work to 12 hours a day and be your partner and have bad sex. She didn't sign up for that. She really didn't. You know what she signed up for? Your love, your devotion, for you to make her feel like she's priority number one in your life every day. But see, what do? As soon as we conquer our wife, we've been married for 6 months to a year or longer, we break our promise, don't we? We break our promise to them. Well, I got to go to work. I can't really hang out with you today. This guy told me yesterday. Well, I work 16 hours a day, and I really ain't got time to hang out, do your program, Jerry, because I said, because I got to work 16 hours a day, and so I'm so tired when I get home. I said, so I'm gonna tell you, so I'm let me try to help you, brother. I said, so you basically, my program is your wife right now. You are in marriage crisis. My program is your wife. So you gotta caress my program. You gotta love it. You gotta hold it. You gotta make it feel good. You know why? Because if I wasn't here and your wife is right there, that's what you're gonna tell your wife? That's what you've been telling your wife for 10 years now. That's why she's gone. If a man can't bear down and fix his marriage and do the work it takes to fix this, just like the pornography thing. Your marriage is in crisis, your wife's gone, she asked for a divorce, and she don't want to see you no more. And you're telling me I work 16 hours a day, I'm so too tired to do anything. Is that so if your wife, say your wife does come back, how you gonna spend time with her and build an emotional connection with her and get her to know that you love her? I'll help you. You can't. And so the wife's exit strategy, what happens is man, you're not gonna believe me, but this is the truth.
Tell me.
The first way that you know that your marriage is in trouble, and I don't mean little in trouble, I mean in big trouble, is your wife is nagging you. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? We should be doing it like that. Where are you going? When you gonna come home? Why are you eating the food like that? Why are you putting the chicken in your mouth like that? Why can't you get the car washed? Why can't you cut the grass? You know what? You know what that means? That means your wife is sensing that the emotional connection is gone, is leaving, and she's trying to get validation of your love for her still. Because she signed up for your love. Women put that above God, man. It's the most important thing in their life. Because if they don't have an emotional connection, remember, they're nurturers, right? So if they don't have that, they're thinking, what am I here for? Where's this marriage going? What are we doing, man? Mr. Husband, what are we doing? And so that's the first clue. The second clue, the next thing is, if the emotional connection doesn't come back or things don't get better, what'll happen is she will move to another bedroom, ask you to move out, or she will get another man. Clockwork. But see, most guys don't listen at the nagging stage. They think, I got time. No, you ain't got time. Your time's up. When she's nagging you, your time is almost up. It's getting up. But guess what? So I'm cool. I'm cool. I ain't gonna listen to that one either. I ain't gonna listen to that one either. So then what'll happen is, if things don't get better, if your wife doesn't see your marriage going anywhere, if the emotional connection is not coming back, if you as a man don't change and fix yourself, why? Because that's how God set it up. It's in her instincts to wait for you to get yourself together. That's another thing guys don't really realize. Your wife and children are waiting for you to get together. They got together. Most dudes, when their wife is nagging them or their wife is leaving and things like that, man, their wife is thinking, look, I did all I can do, man. I didn't try to get you to act right for 6 months now, a year, 5 years, 20 years. So the next part of the wife's exit strategy is if they don't get together, she will ask for a separation. She will ask for divorce. Then if they'll get better, then she'll move. She will be in another apartment, leave, and all of that. Then she will file for divorce. And of course, in every state, there's no fault divorce. So guess what? She's going to get it. And plus, every Catholic church, every archdiocese in the world requires, especially in the United States, requires you to get a divorce decree before you can get what?
Yep. Before you can get the annulment, apply for it. Yeah.
So for divorce, but the problem is this: in the eyes of when you get divorced, in the eyes of the state, your marriage is over. But in the eyes of God, your marriage is not.
Correct.
So that's why you need an annulment. And so then your wife will file, she'll push it and go for the annulment. She'll get it. And then your marriage is all purposes over in the eyes of God and over in the eyes of the state. Your marriage is over. Gentlemen, this is your future. If you don't get together, if you take your wife, and what happens to most guys is, what starts their exit strategy is, we start taking our wife for granted and we stop appreciating her.
Yep.
And that's those two things will get you getting nagged.
Okay, let's bring this in. Let's go practical. Okay, so let's imagine I find myself, my wife is nagging all the time, right? So what's one or two simple things a guy can do to begin to reverse that course?
Okay. So I'm great going to something that is going to be hard for people to understand. Another, like, women, like, you want to be fulfilled as a man and satisfied as a man. Women is worse. They need to be fulfilled. They need to be fulfilled as a woman and satisfied as a woman, and they need, because they're emotional. See, guys, we're more logical, so we can deal with it longer. We can deal with it. Women can't. You know, if I can't make myself love you anymore. That's their thing, right? I can't make me, you know. And so what you got to understand is, when women are unfulfilled, unsatisfied as a woman, that's because their sex life is bad. They're not getting fulfilled in their sex life. And the other thing is their husband's not praying for them. So you need grace from God. And most people don't understand that. You pray in the spiritual battle daily because you're married. You need that grace from God to help your wife stay happy, to help you keep your house in order. Then the reason I have to teach you, every man that comes in my program, I have to teach them what intimacy is about, why it's important to women. Intimacy for women is 10 times more important for them than it is a man. Why? Because of what's called inhibitions. Women cannot take pain like men can take pain. Men are built for pain. Women ain't, because of the emotional thing, the nurturing thing. So when in their life, when things start to happen to them, they don't get rid of it. That's why your wife will say, 20 years ago, you look at that girl for like 10 seconds and you disrespected me. You go, that was 20 years ago. What are you talking about? That's how you know what I'm saying is true. Women don't get over stuff because they can't. It's an emotional thing for them. So one of the things is this: if a woman inhibitions is called baggage, pain, I call it pain, inhibitions. But the thing about it is the more sex partners a woman has, it damages her. It damages her psychologically, it damages her emotionally, and it damages her spiritually. If a woman has had an abortion, if she's had a miscarriage, if a parent has died, a kid has died, or whatever, or she's had a failed marriage, that's why you don't marry a divorced woman, because she's damaged. And she doesn't know how to separate that stuff. Now you go with Jerry, when we first got married, everything was cool. Of course it was. You know why? Because when she married you, she's like, he's gonna take all this pain away. He's gonna make me happy. He's gonna be the love of my life. He's gonna make me priority number one. And then guess what? We start neglecting them. And then all that baggage comes in. So the only way for a man to get rid of that is through prayer, suffering, and sacrifice like Christ. But the other way is for men to prolong the sex session with their wife more than 20 minutes, because it takes women 20 minutes just to get warmed up to receive you as a man. Now I know I'm going to crazy stuff.
But well, no, I'm gonna interject here. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. 2 points here. Okay. One, I can hear I can feel the hair on the back of a woman's neck. I can hear it rising right now. On the first point, then I'll make a second point. Then please respond. Number one is women can't take pain as much as men. Well, what about childbirth, Jerry? That would be the first thing there. So I'll have you respond in a second. Second is, what if you have a woman who literally has no libido? I know of women who literally do not have an interest. They've lost interest. The libido is gone. It's just not there. What are your responses on those two?
The first thing is, so when I say pain, I mean emotional, spiritual, psychological pain, psyche pain. I don't mean like, of course they can take physical. Well, we can take physical pain too. A lot, but women can take physical pain too. I mean emotional. I guess I should have made that psychological more of a distinct.
That clarification.
Okay. Now, the other thing about libido, all that is women are frigid. So frigidity means that she has some inhibition to the sexual thing because she's damaged. Something's happened to her life where, like all the things I said, you got to remember, most people are disordered when it comes to sex. They are. They'll do all this lustful stuff and do all throughout their life and think that they're going to get married and their sex life is going to be great. Well, guess what? The lust runs out. The lust runs out. This is why one of the main things I do is I say, listen, man, you got to bring God in your bedroom. Stop talking that mess about keep God in my bedroom. Because when you keep God in your bedroom, the intimacy leaves, Jesus Christ leaves, the Trinity leaves, and then Satan comes in. And then you wonder why after 6 months or a year or 2 years, you don't want to have sex with your wife no more, or more important, you want to have sex with you. Now, the libido thing, that's a myth. That don't mean nothing. Men, this is what I'm saying. Men don't really understand their power as men. The reason women get crazy about their libido goals is like women in menopause and things like that. Women, you have to prolong when you make love to your wife. It's important that you prolong the sex session. Understand what that means. First of all, I call it the 6 phases of the fulfillment of your wife and sexually. Okay. Why? Because for women, sex is psychological, spiritual, and emotional. So if you know that, then it makes sense that I cannot lose control when I'm making love to my wife when it takes her 20 minutes just to her body to warm up, for her to be ready to love me and be one flesh with me. If I lose control in 5 minutes or 15 minutes, she's like, okay, well, that's fun. That wasn't fun. That's cool. We'll just, whenever you want to make love again, let me know. But until then, I'm out of here. Because women, you have to realize that women, it takes them a long time. And so, of course, women think that they have libido problems when they really don't. They have a sexual length of the section problem. The sex session is not lasting long enough for them to get into it, to have deep and fulfilled. Now, I'm going to say peaks because people get weird when you start talking about saying orgasms too much. So when I say peaks, that's what I mean.
So Jerry did not say the word orgasm, people. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Just so we're clear on this.
On my website, I say it because that's what it is. But when I get on people's shows, I talk different. I'll tell you a little different. But women, they need peaks. So peaks, what happens is that the more peaks that they have, the more bonded and more loving they feel. And that brings on their sacred self. And so they start to realize, not through your mouth, through you as a man, that you truly love her. And what does that mean? But in order to have a sex session for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever, what does that mean? You have to give of yourself as a man. You have to sacrifice. You have to deny your wants, your desires, and your needs in order to fulfill and get your wife out of that libido problem or out of that frigidity problem. There's no such thing as frigidity and libido problem. It's a problem of the sex session is not lasting long enough for your particular wife to lose herself in you and her. And this is why you hear me talk about, as a man, as a husband, you must learn your wife's mysteries. You must make love to her outside the bedroom, so that, first of all, if you make love outside the bedroom with her, with holding hands and deep conversations and sitting next to her and doing all these romantic things that show you truly love her, then you get her wanting to be more intimate with you. And then that carries over into the bedroom. and that helps you out. Now I'm gonna stop right there unless you want something else.
No, this is good. It is certainly a challenge because the message, especially in the pornified culture we live in, is serve yourself, serve your own libido, serve your own place here. Which and marriage is we're making it clear here is not a 50-50 proposition. I do this, you do this. It's not a transactional thing. It's not a contractual thing. It's a covenantal, where I give all of myself, you give all of yourself to me, right? But it's also in recognizing where is my spouse at, right? So let's take the issue. I mean, like if one of our, for whatever reason, those wounds of sexuality, which go very, very deep, right? There may require going deep into some individual counseling. I got to work through some of this trauma stuff. It doesn't just go away. It can fester, and this is what can inhibit a lot of the intimacy there. So, but again, certainly a very interesting perspective. So I think of any of the guys, you're looking for more intimacy in the bedroom. That's certain. There are techniques and things like that to work on, but it's also you got to take a good hard look at self. How am I loving my wife or not loving my wife outside of the bedroom? Critically important here, right? So in here, right? As we're getting close to the end of this section, so I want to bring up two other thoughts here. Number one, right? Why would you say, right? Because we talk a lot about this on the Redeemed Vision podcast. Why are so many men of all ages, why are they plagued by the sexual health problems? You got ED, erectile dysfunction, you got depression, there's premature ejaculation, there's masturbation, pornography, all these things. We're being very, very real here on the podcast, right? So what would you say about this?
Okay. First of all, we must understand as men, I call it sexual health for men. The reason why I cover sexual health for men, because we all have kids, we all have grandkids, we have a wife, and we want to be around for them. And I just talked to one of my clients today, and we were talking about this very thing because he's at that point in the program. And we've got to understand that erectile dysfunction can be stopped, premature ejaculation can be stopped. But what guys do is they don't want to change. Just like with their marriage, they don't want to change nothing. We want everything to be, fixed in 5 minutes, and it don't work like that. So basically, 99.9999% of the time, the reason you have erectile dysfunction and the reason you have erectile premature ejaculation is because what you're putting through your pie hole. Your mouth. And whether that carbohydrates, sugar, over-the-counter medications, prescription medications, and you're not drinking enough water to get to cleanse your body out, and you're not fasting. And so the more toxicity that you have in your body, which is what I just said, all those things I just said, then what happens is the more sensitive you are when you make love. The reason you have ED, people have ED, is for the same thing. They start having all these, they have to take all these medications and stuff. People think that being sick is bad luck. No, first of all, that is not right. We're sick because of what we do to ourselves. But most people don't know how to eat right. And if they do know how to eat right, it's wrong. And doctors, they're really not going to tell you, why? Because I need that medication money. I need you to take that medication.
Yeah.
The $1 billion industry of carbohydrates, of potato chips and donuts,
and
they're
big
not going
pharma.
to tell you. They're not going to tell you either. You know why? Because, hey, I got to make those sales. But you know what? I don't blame them. I don't blame potato chip companies. You know why? Because I'm a grown man. And I know that I'm not supposed to be eating carbohydrates and sugar every day. I know that. But what do? I do it anyway. And so what does that do? If you, let me tell you this. If you eat carbohydrates and sugar every day, it's not a matter of time. It's not if you're going to get sick, it's when you are going to get sick. You are going to get sick. You are going to die a painful death, and it will hurt, and you're going to lose your grandchildren and your kids and all of that. Why do you think kids get cancer? Kids don't get cancer because of bad luck. Kids get cancer because they ain't eating right. But nobody will change it. So when it comes to the lesson here is, when I say premature ejaculation, it means this. Number one, even with the church, the technical definition of premature ejaculation is hedonism, is when your husband making love to your wife and you do not allow her to have her peak. And so that's selfishness. That's selfishness. So that's why in the church, that's very bad, because women start to be what? That's why some of the reasons they don't take birth control, because women start to feel like what? Like a utensil, a knife, a fork, a spoon. So that's why a wife doesn't want to make love to her husband. That's why women don't approach their husband to make love, because they ain't having a good time. Think about it. If every time you ate, your stomach hurt real bad, how much would you be eating every day? You wouldn't eat. So if you're a woman and your husband wants to make love, but he won't, I'm not having a good time, and every time we make love, it's about him, then what'll happen is she ain't gonna want to make love no more. Okay. Now the other thing is sexual we're talking about premature ejaculation. The other thing about premature ejaculation, you got to understand, what was the question? I forgot on something.
So you were talking about all these issues of sexual health problems, right? And again, for all those who are hearing, no, I didn't know exactly we would go in this deep into premature ejaculation, but you never know what you're going to get on the Redeemed Vision podcast. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share this. So there you go.
Well, the main thing you got to understand about every time you flush your premature ejaculation, man, is because it hurts your marriage. Sex is the second most important thing in your marriage behind prayer. You know why? Because of the closeness thing for women. Sex is all about God and your wife. It ain't about you. Please, gentlemen, if I can get every man to understand that, they would understand that. But then, definition. And then so that's the technical definition, that a man loses control before his wife has had one orgasm. Okay. The real definition of those who know how to make love, who are world-class lovers for the benefit of God and their wife, they realize that premature ejaculation is when a man loses control before his wife has had all the peaks that she needs for that sex session, which could be 5 or 10 or 20 or 25 or whatever. And it's important. That is really what premature ejaculation is, because remember what I said, for women, sex is psychological, emotional, and spiritual. So this is why they need this. They need this so that they can feel that my man, my husband, loves me more than anything in this world. And she just doesn't feel it in her intellect. She feels it through her soul. This is why a man, in order for a man to know the true mysteries of his wife, he must understand how to be a world-class lover, to make love to her for the benefit of God, his wife, his children, and his marriage.
So as we're hearing here, Jerry doesn't pull punches. Jerry doesn't beat around the bush, no pun intended, and he doesn't mess around, because these issues are important for marriage. And I love the fact, especially, marital intercourse is not everything for marriage, but it is important. It is, right, because it's one of the things that is unified the husband and wife together. But God must be front and center in that marriage. So I want to close this section with this question here, Jerry. Right? Obviously, here sharing here about the philosophy and work with clients. Going into these very important issues in very frank manner. That is important. What else would you say sets Catholic Alpha apart from other marriage programs you've seen out there?
Well, I guess you're asking me to toot my horn a little bit. It's hard. That's hard for me to do, but I'm gonna try. The thing that I've been told by a lot of men don't want to pay the price, and I'm sure you go through the same thing. They don't want to pay the price of what it costs to, when you're in marriage crisis. Men think, well, he gonna charge me this little bit fee, and I'm gonna help him get through all the crap that he and his wife have created over the past 50 years. Dude, do you know how much work it is to get a couple out of marriage crisis, where she wants to stay with you, doesn't want to leave, she wants to come back and make a go of your marriage and love you and be with you? That is a lot of work. And so the difference between me and what I see is, I come from the Catholic faith. And what that means is, I have a lot of Protestants in my program too. So, Methodist, Jehovah's Witness, and all those kind. But what I do is I don't pull punches. Like, listen, you come to me for what works. My job is to give you the best chance to get your wife back. And the Catholic faith is it. Now, I'm not trying to convert you to the Catholic faith. That's between you and the Holy Spirit. But what I am going to teach you is that you got to get your butt to church every Sunday. Preferably, you go to a Catholic church and go to adoration. You need to pray some rosaries. You need to pray some spiritual warfare prayers. You need to do this kind of stuff and pray some Divine Mercy chaplets. And you need to do some stuff that's going to show the Holy Spirit that you are serious about what you're trying to do. And then we attack your wife through communication. You got to learn how to communicate with her. So every time she says something, you don't get all pissed off and frustrated, and same with her. Then you got to learn what a real man's about, what your mission as a man is, what God has asked you. Then you got to learn intimacy, what that means through the eyes of God, and how to be the man that she needs you to be. Then you got to learn about all these different things, the smaller things, like how to get your, when you have soldiers or people that are on your side that don't want the divorce, but they want you to help them. They will help you. And so all of these, we attack your wife in all these different things to get her to see that maybe you, and then the whole time while we're attacking your wife in a circular order, attacking her from all different places, we're fighting against Satan. And then what we're doing is we're getting you to realize that you got to fix you, so that your wife sees that you're not that same guy anymore, because no woman wants to come after she done left, wants to come back to the same dude that she left. That's not change. And so that's what we do. And listen, a lot of you will tell you, we'll fix your marriage in a month, or we'll fix your marriage in 3 months, or whatever. I don't play that. What I tell you is this: I give you the best chance to get your wife back. If you don't quit, you're gonna get your wife back. But if you lose heart and you don't do what I say, you're not gonna get her back.
Wow. That's beautiful, brother. It's beautiful. So if you are especially needing a tune-up, buddy, or maybe even more, there's total flat tires on that car, get into Jerry's mechanic shop, because he's gonna help fix it here, right? And this is what he does. So Jerry, I want to thank you for this section of our time and our discussion. And I want to turn our discussion over to something we call the 12. Okay. And I warned you beforehand, this is going to be different. Don't overthink it. He's shaking his head. He's
you
not
didn't
sure.
warn me.
Oh.
You just said, we're going to do something different, Jerry. I was like, okay.
Well, okay. I'm not going to quote your wife, but I will say, maybe you just weren't listening to me. Maybe you didn't hear me. All right. So here we go. Jerry, these are 12 questions. Don't overthink them. Kind of top of your head. Are you ready for the 12?
Yes, sir.
Good. Number 1, peanut butter, creamy or crunchy?
Oh, creamy.
Okay. Number 2, if you could be any Star Wars character, who would you be?
None of them.
None of them. Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll say Lando Calrissian because he was cool.
He is cool. I need some Colt 45. That's what I need. Number 3, what is your desert island food?
Oh, I'm an oyster guy all the way.
Oyster. So you're going very literal on this. I'll take that. Awesome. Okay. Number 4, beer or wine?
I'll say wine.
Okay. Follow up. What kind of wine?
Okay, I go back to beer. Guinness.
All right. Guinness. Oh, Jerry, we need to meet. This is very important to me.
I should have said beer first, but I used to drink wine a lot. But then lately, I have a lot of Irish friends, and they started, so I like the Guinness thing.
Okay. There's nothing else. I don't think there's any other alcohol, any other beer. Excuse me. There's only Guinness, and then there's I don't know what you call it. So, number 5, what is the most memorable Christmas gift you received growing up?
Oh man, the first Nintendo.
Oh, awesome! What was your favorite game on that?
Well, back then it was only one on it too. So I like the tennis thing where it hit the block, it hit the wall.
Pong.
Yeah, it hit the 2 bars, and then they would hit it. And
wait. Hold on, wait. Wasn't that Atari?
That might be Atari.
I think it's Atari. Okay, thank you. All right. Because Mario is Nintendo. I think it's Atari. Pong's a classic. Pong's a classic.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. Okay, totally. I think you had to turn. Do you have to turn the dial? Do you have to turn the dial? Is that what it was, or was it Atari the joystick? I can't remember.
I can't remember. Anyway,
yeah. See how much we play video games, folks?
Yes,
it's over.
those
days are over.
That's it.
Number 6. What is your bucket list city or country?
Oh man. Really, I've been a lot of places in the world because I was in the Air Force and stuff. But I really want to take my wife to Rome because she's never been, and she hasn't really been a lot of places. Okay. And but I want to take her to Rome because if I could surprise her, that's where I would do. But our favorite thing together though is cruises.
Very cool. So I used to live in Rome. So if you ever decide to go, let me know. I'll give you some tips on it. But and as a reverse, I've never been on a cruise. So one day it will happen. So they're fun from what I hear. You just eat way too much food apparently. So that's what I hear. It's true. All right. So I don't know if there's any cruises for those who are on diets. I don't think that exists there. Anyway, that's a side note. Weight Watcher cruise. I don't think that exists. All right. Number 7. If there's a market though, there's probably a market for it anyway. So they feed everybody food. They give everybody, bad popcorn, and then nobody eats anything. Right, Jerry? Sorry, Jerry just had food
that's
poisoning.
Wrong.
So
that's
you're
wrong.
Welcome. All right. Number 7. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh man, to go from my house to church and just teleport. Because man, I don't have no time. I feel like I don't have no time. And so if I could just go from, and be back when I need to, so I could keep working.
Teleportation. So wait, is it teleportation, or is it like I'm able to be in 2 places at once?
I guess it's kind of the same, but I think it was different. But it's, I don't want to get greedy, so I just take the teleportation. I don't put too much on God like that.
I just want to try. I just want to be in 3 places at once. I'm not asking for the moon, just 3, and not omnipresent, just 3. Okay, all right.
Yep.
Jerry, have you ever seen The Chosen?
Man, everybody keeps telling me about that show, and I have not seen it.
Okay, Jerry, you have a date night with your wife. Get on it, okay, sunshine? You're welcome. Okay, we'll come back and talk about that later on. All right, number 9.
You seen Nefarious?
I have not yet. You like it?
You got to go. I told my clients, and one of my clients went today, him and his wife, they couldn't believe how good it was. I ain't gonna tell you about it. I'm just telling you it's very Catholic and you're gonna love it. It's like me. It's Catholic like me. It's so different that you're gonna be loving it. You're gonna love it, man.
See, I got a little nervous hearing this. There's a little Glenn Beck in there. His character.
Glenn Beck is great in it.
Is he really? Is he crazy in it?
No, it's just an interview.
Oh, is it really?
I thought I was gonna tell you.
Okay,
he's just being Glenn Beck. He's interviewing somebody. That's
fair enough.
It's not. Yeah, he's not acting in it or nothing.
All right, then I need to check it out.
Please, and then let me know, because you're gonna be like, Jerry, I can't believe it. That was good. That's gonna be probably the best movie you've seen in a while.
I may receive that, so I'll let you know.
Okay.
There we go. Although the Mario Brothers movie was totally clean, family fun, I do recommend it. It's worth all the penny there. Going, just a thought. If you like Nintendo, so think about that. Okay, number 9. Besides your name and date, what do you want written on your tombstone? Pause.
Just like something, a man who sacrificed his life for God, his wife, and his children.
That's
something
beautiful.
Like that. That's just
Beautiful.
Something like that. That's really
Awesome.
all I want.
Or Jerry, something like that, Jacobs Jr. I don't know.
Yeah, you got.
Number 10. If you had to pick only one, you got only one here. Your favorite saint, who would it be?
Oh, dude. I got 4 of them, but I'm gonna give you the one. I'm gonna have to go with St. John the Baptist, man. You
He
wanna know
lost his
why?
head.
You wanna know why?
Tell
I
me.
mean, it's obvious because he died for marriage, baby.
Amen.
And
Amen.
he put his life out there on the line for God. He's a martyr too. So it's like, boom,
Put his
So my
money where
thing
his
is
mouth
marriage.
is.
Right. And he knew he was gonna he probably knew he was gonna die. Saints always know they're gonna die.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I'll receive that. All right, here on this point, you mentioned martyrdom. Number 11. If you had to be martyred, how do you want to go out?
Man, I'm that one. I just hope that I would have the courage as a man, the fortitude to be able to die for God when the time came. So I don't have a specific way. It's just I just want to have the courage because we can sit here all day. I'll die for God, and I want to, but I just pray that if the time ever comes, that I have the courage to uphold what Christ would want me to do as a man.
Yeah. Or another way to put it, given the context of our conversation, marriage. I'm going to be married. That's how I'm going to be.
You go. Well, that's how you're supposed to do it anyway. Your wife is supposed to chisel you.
Amen.
You chisel her, she chisels you.
And it hurts, man. It hurts. But let it hurt. Let it hurt. Hurts so good. So, number 12, Jerry, why be Catholic?
Because it's the bomb. That's why. That's why. It's the bomb, dude. You listen. You start getting to the faith, man. That's why lukewarm Catholics, I can't understand them. If you just start just learning a little bit and really take responsibility a little bit, man, God will give you all that you need and want. The Holy Spirit will infect you, dude. You will see it. You be Catholic because it's the way for you to be the man that God called you to be, that your wife needs, that your children, you want to be a man of respect, get into your faith, man, become a man of God, a Christian soldier, a man of courage, true man. That's what it's about, baby. That's what it's about.
Amen. Amen. If you want to be a real man, be like this man. This is represented, right? This is where you authentically come to life, right? Well said. Jerry Jacobs Jr., it's been an honor to have you on the Redeemed Vision podcast. This certainly won't be our last conversation.
No, we had too much fun.
We do. So an honor, of blessings on the work that you're doing. I know that you and we've been having this conversation on your podcast. So I encourage all of you. And Jerry, that's the last final question, this whole thing. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, be aware of the work you're doing, drop you a line? What do you say?
So the way I am, I don't force any man to save his marriage. If you can't understand that, then you got more problems than I can help you with, or Steve can help you with. But all joking aside, I love what I do. I'm very passionate, and I know I talk direct, man, but I learned a lot about coaching a long time ago. I have a lot of empathy and sympathy for a situation. Why? Because I was there. So I understand. But look, if you're in marriage crisis, man, your wife has asked for a divorce. You haven't made love in a month. Your wife wants a separation. She's having an affair. That's marriage crisis. Are you in a mediocre, boring marriage with no fire or passion? Then if you want, after listening to this podcast, if we didn't help you enough, then go to savemycatholicmarriage.com. savemycatholicmarriage.com, and you can watch the masterclass. And if that'll help you some more, and if you want more help after that, a little button will pop up, and you can schedule an appointment to speak with me, and we can go further and analyze your marriage and help you try to get out of this, man.
This is great. Jerry, thank you for the work you do for the kingdom. It's really, really important.
Thanks, man.
So blessings abundantly on you, your marriage, your children, and all the work you do. And for myself at the Redeemed Vision podcast, I'm Steve Pokorny. May everything we do give glory to the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Remember, nothing is wasted. Everything is redeemable. So let God redeem you. God bless you. Until next time.
The Redeemed Vision podcast is an outreach of Freedom Coaching. To learn more, check out freedom-coaching.net and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and MeWe.